presented by Honor. It's the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup semifinals. We're about to get underway, see who's going to be qualifying for those top 12 spots into the finals. I am Ryan Meyer. I'm joined by the beautiful Daryl Now. Daryl, how are you doing?
Ryan, I have to say it's an absolute honor and pleasure to be here in China with you. And the fact that BMX at our 5th and final stop is represented on a worldwide scale, such a cool experience here in China. You actually can see the course, the battlefield with the crowd coming on in as the excitement is building.
You have literally not slept for probably 3 days. You've been on the roll, on a mission to get out here. What has it been like?
It's been really cool because this is, like I said, our 5th and final stop World Series. I came just from New York, straight off the plane, and I am fueled by the excitement of these riders. I mean, you take a look out here. It is sunny, perfect conditions out there. The temperature, 15 degrees Celsius. The wind is coming in at 15 knots right there, coming down. You can see the flags. Might be a little bit of a factor like we've seen in our previous stops. We're out in Denver and also Colorado where that wind can whip around and definitely affect the riders on the course. But you could just see the crowd really filling in here in Chengdu, getting excited to watch our semifinal.
So speaking of the previous stops, let's take a little bit of an aerial satellite view, let's say. We started it all off in the hometown Montpellier, France. That's where everything went off at the start of May for the FISE World Series, but we brought it over for the first time ever to Osijek, Croatia. Huge warm welcoming, and for the first time ever in the history of FISE, we went across the pond to North America, beautiful Denver, Colorado, United States of America, then headed north to Edmonton, Canada, September 16th to 18th, and now we are here today, October 28th, in Chengdu, China. We're going to finish it off here in China. This is the 5th and final stop, and as well the first year that we have started the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup. So what does that mean for BMXing as a whole?
Well, we're seeing the sport grow, and the fact that the UCI is involved, they are the standard for anything cycling. They actually govern and look over the Olympics as far as any cycling, whether it be for BMX racing, and they're actually here with us on our FISE World Series. We have our technical delegate, Bart de Jong, who is basically going to be looking over the baseline standard for judging and making sure that everything is up to code, and really that the level and degree of judging is here behind our World Series.
Bart as well was a previous judge, so he knows his stuff. Great to see him as the UCI delegate. But let's talk a bit about what's been happening here in the BMX scene of FISE. Last stop, it was Edmonton, and last stop as well, our leader, the man who come off on top of the podium, the Australian Logan Martin. Let's take a look back at his first place run in Edmonton.
Wow, Logan Martin right there. That is a world-class run. First place out in Canada. And Logan looking to bring some of that first place gold out here to Chengdu, China. But one thing you saw was that park course. And Ryan, we're taking a look right now at our BMX park course here in China.
I like that the FISE have switched up the courses every stop around. I mean, they look the same, that typical FISE look, perfect transitions. But let's take a bit of a better look. I think we have someone more than qualified to show us a first-hand perspective of course preview.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Kevin Peraza. We're here in Chengdu, China for the final stop of the FISE World Tour. I want to take you guys around the course and show you some stuff that I like to do. Oh, yeah. We're coming into this volcano, pocket into the vert wall. I can't, as you can see, because I suck. We're gonna jump the box jump backwards. And hitting this curve wall ride. Incredible. And then there's a spine over here. Little hip. It's hard for me to breathe, but I'll take you guys over this crazy shit. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I got. Yeah, that was a little GoPro preview for you guys.
Well, there you have it. Kevin Peraza currently sitting 14th place in our overall standings, showing you a little bit of what the battlefield has to offer. A very unique course. Obviously, we've got the big box jump features in the middle, but you saw that very unique wall ride out there, and a couple of other features being the islands and also those vert quarter pipes. So we are going to have quite the competition ahead of us.
Talking about following all the riders and everything, you make sure that you can check out all that action. The best is if you like us on Facebook, FISE.official. That's the official Facebook page. As well, maybe check us out on Instagram and Twitter for all the updated photo content. But if you're more of a quick video guy, Snapchat is the handle that you're going to be looking at. FISE World Series. And as well, make sure you hashtag all your posts FISE World if you want to get involved in the action. If you want any other up-to-date content, all the schedules, certain posts from the riders, and all the exclusive media content, make sure you make it over to FISE.tv. As well, if you're looking to check out for Daryl Now or myself, you can find us on our respective handles at Daryl Now or at Ryan Meyer.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that you throw that hashtag down because it's very cool for the fellow riders out there to take a look and see who's watching around the world. It's always a cool thing to look at that hashtag and wind up seeing all the different fans who are joining us worldwide because this is the World Series. But if we're going to break down our riders, we're going to talk about our 24. So basically we had our qualifiers yesterday and we wound up taking 19 who qualified for a semi. We put them in reverse order. Vince Byron, Michael Baran, Josh Perry, Alex Nicolin, Eric Figar, Jonathan Camacho, Jake Leva, Wesley Hark, Mike Varga, Alex Coleborn, Tom Isted, Kenneth Tencio, Kevin Peraza, Jack Clark, Daniel Dhers, Andriy Kostanin, Eric Rizev, Declan Brooks, and your #1 qualifier, Drew Bazanzin. And our next 5 riders are your top 5 finishers out in Edmonton, Canada. Colton Walker, Jeremy Mallet, Miranda Lupus, Nick Bruce, and your current points leader, and also your 2015 champion, none other than the Australian Logan Martin. So those are a look at our riders out there, but let's take a look at our 3 different judges who are going to be out here looking for all the specific details. So we see on the left right there, we've got coming all the way from France. He's known as BB, Romuald Norat, who is a trails legend within himself. Coming from Croatia, Igor Vukadinovic. And last but not least, we have Great Britain's Hank, a.k.a. Dave Cleworth. Now, you might be saying, what are these 3 riders? They are all industry icons and legends within themselves. They all have over 20-plus years of BMX knowledge and riding experience, but they're going to be out here basically looking for our riders' overall approach out on the course. So the way that this is going to be working, we have our 24 riders out on the course. They are going to be broken down into 6 separate heats. So there's going to be 4 riders in each one of these heats. They're going to have approximately 60 seconds on the clock each time to take 2 runs. Now, both runs count out here. There's going to be available points from 0 to 100, and the top 12 are going to advance to the final. So just in a nutshell, 24 riders, 6 separate heats, 4 riders apiece, 2 runs. Both runs count for an overall. We're taking top 12 to the finals. So basically out there, you know as much as I, Ryan, the judges are going to be looking for an overall approach on the course. They're going to want to see unique lines, transfers, tricks thrown into the mix. And they're definitely going to want to see a rider give it the Midas touch, a.k.a. their own version of style out here. Now, Ryan, you were pro mountain bike rider. You also BMX pumps through your veins. You ride yourself. How important is that style factor out on a course?
I mean, coming from the icons that I watched, especially within BMX, style is the #1 thing to me, and I love to be able to see a guy flow around a park course with speed, huge amplitude, and just very fluid tricks, instead of, you know, maybe the guy doing that quadruple tail up. Those are all amazing in their right, but for me, BMX is that essence and that expression of one's style onto the bicycle, so I'm going to be very happy to see that in some of the riders. Looking at some of, you know, the rivalries we're talking about right now, Logan Martin and Daniel Dhers, those are going to be the two big head-to-head things, because we're going to be seeing who is actually going to be taking the ranking. But I just want to touch on one other thing. We haven't seen much of Drew Bezanson in the top spots, except for yesterday in his qualifying, and that is my top rider to watch today. My boy Drew has come out. He hasn't been really feeling it lately, but man, did his riding show different yesterday. Absolutely the Drew that we have wanted to see for the whole entire year.
So Ryan's picks right there is Drew Bezanson, but right now our first rider to be picked out on the course is none other than Vince Byron. The Australian looking so smooth on the box jump with that 360 Superman seat grab. Vince is primarily known as a vert ramp rider. I say that because he's got gold medals at X Games, and he's also known to ride the big air mega ramps. But right now, Vince is looking really comfortable out on the parks, getting things popped off with a flare right there. It's a backflip with 180, and you see him utilizing that big transfer all the way from the island into the vert wall, and a 720 out of Vince. Wow, Vince really getting the party rolling out here. 360 turn down over the spine, looking for that wall tap to come back into the transition. And it looks like the clock is winding down, but Vince Byron looking to get technical on that toothpick, trying to utilize the last moments of his first run.
As you can see, it is a long run for some of the riders. I mean, I believe it's 60 seconds on the clock for this one as well. You can notice some fatigue going through some of the riders as they're going to try and do a full pull here. It is very difficult for them to keep the strength and stamina up the whole time.
Yeah, that 60 seconds is definitely a factor. You want to keep your energy going from the right out of the gate, like on that 360 Superman seat grab. There is a look at an air on the quarter pipe with a similar trick, but you're not getting that rotation such as on that 720, 2 full spins around. So that clock, the 60 seconds is very vital. The judges want to see variety out there, especially in the 2 different runs, but they want to see a rider's control of the whole course. And usually if you have that stamina to keep going and keep your momentum flowing from beginning to end, that is definitely an important factor.
Next rider up, Michael Barron.
So Michael dropping things right here. You see him pumping into that quarter pipe to get a lot of speed, airing up out of the vert wall. Michael is known to blast big jumping tricks, double tail whip backflip, also known as the helicopter right there, hanging up a little bit with his back tire. Oh, Michael going down. It looked like he wanted that bunny hop bar spin. One of the easier tricks out there for Michael.
He looked very shocked he couldn't actually hold on to that still.
Yeah, Michael is definitely a rider who's been known to throw some very wild box jump tricks and some big jumping variations. So to see him go down on that bar spin, it's definitely going to hurt his score out there. You see him shaking it off. Maybe his head was not in the game or in the place for his first run. Definitely a lot of BMX is being in that mental spot, making sure that you have that confidence out there on the ramp, and maybe, you know, proof positive Michael falling on that bar spin. But he's going to have one more run. Definitely glad that he didn't fall on that backflip double tail whip. You saw him, he came up just a little bit short. And what we mean by that is he didn't clear the top platform of the ramp. He came up with his back tire on the top of the transition and wound up. His feet fell off, but he was able to keep the momentum rolling.
Hopefully he'll be able to clean up a few of those baubles into his second run, as we're going to be moving through to our third rider, Joshua Perry from Greenville, the United States of America.
Big ups to Josh Perry, my teammate for Garden of Life right here. Big tail whip dropping in. Look at the speed.
Huge off that sub box on that. Oh, and massive amplitude into that spine step up.
This is what you were talking about, that style, 720, lots of height. Right here, Josh Perry has been really looking forward to this final. each stop he said, you know what, I'm gonna go back to Greenville, do some more homework, not only with my riding at Daniel Dhers action facility, but at the same time, he said, I'm gonna mentally visualize my runs out here in the final. We've seen at each stop him throw down some big 720s, and right now in this semi, he's keeping that momentum just rolling, that wall tap, setting up for a no-handed 360. Look at the tail whip. And this is what we're talking about. As the clock is winding down, Josh Perry's speed is building up. Let's see what he's got over the box jump. Backflip tail whip. Wow, Perry right here looking solid.
Amazing riding and super fast as he moves through the course. A lot of punctuation in his landings.
Josh Perry definitely tries to put the focus on the athlete part of BMX, putting in a lot of work, a lot of time. You see right now he's checking out his bike. There's a chance that maybe his back wheel shift, maybe his brakes were rubbing a little bit. He didn't look phased out there at all. He's actually riding a custom Mike Laird frame. Shout out to another North Carolina BMX rider, Mike Laird. He's got his own frame company building, his own frame building where he does custom builds for riders, and he made that beautiful Laird frame in that candy apple green for Josh Perry. We're looking at that bunny hop tail whip coming in. Huge way to start it off. That 720, so much momentum. You saw he actually sped up his rotation when he looked confident that he knew he was coming around, slowed it down, and then wind up spotting the landing perfect coming back in. So that run was a very varied, rounded run. The consistency, though, was a lot of speed and height. So Perry right there cranking one out. So we're looking at our fourth rider of heat number 1. This is none other than the Russian Alex Nikulin coming in. I gotta say, I love Alex's style. He's really tearing it up in Colorado and also in Canada. Big transfer into the box jump.
Whoa, huge amplitude on that tuck no-handed front flip. Now going backwards, 360 on that box jump. Absolutely massive amplitude. That's where you saw he was getting all the speed. Coming back again, corked out 720 bar spin.
Yeah, Alex right here just looks so comfortable with this style and going around that curved wall. I mean, the fact that he was able to just, with ease, 360 the box jump backwards like that. Got a little off axis, found the style, and came in. It just shows you how comfortable and confident he is on his bike. One thing to notice, yeah, front flip coming up. He's riding with no pegs on his bike. That's definitely a choice of the riders if they want to have brakes or pegs. He decided to do neither. And it's really that thing where if you do have brakes or you do have pegs, you can open up certain options for tricks, or you could do some of the more basic tricks and they'll actually be a little more difficult without those features on your bike. So Alex right there getting another great run. You see him getting a big hug right there from Brett Benisewicz, the Mad Dog, who actually rode in our qualifier. He didn't make it to the semi, but he's out there showing love and support for tricks like that 720 bar spin. And here's a look at that flare. That's the backflip 180. And here is how you wrap up a run with a front flip coming out onto the deck. So the Russian right there stomping it down. Good, solid run. Again, if you're just joining us, this is our BMX semifinal. Every rider of our 24 is going to have 2 runs out on the course. It is overall of the 2 runs that count. Doesn't matter if you're in the first heat or if you're in the 6th heat. Each rider scores. We're taking the top 12, moving on to the final, which will be at the same place tomorrow. But right now, we're going to go back up to the top of heat number 1. We're looking at the Australian Vince Byron, who's getting ready to drop.
So as you said, a man who is known for some of his amazing vert riding abilities, doing it here in the park contest. What kind of, advantage does he have?
Whoa! Very cool right there. Downside 360 tail whip to Superman seat grab right there. We've actually seen a 360 version, but I'm going to be honest with you, that was the first time I've ever seen that.
Never seen that before.
That was a wild one. I don't know if that was a first for Vince, but you know, I've been very fortunate to call a lot of comps, and I've never seen that downside 360 tail whip to seat grab. So Vince right here unleashing the beast in the finals, looking to make it into, from the semifinal to the final at the 5th stop here in Chengdu.
gonna try and finish my sentence. Whoa, not getting that tire tap. Looks like he was maybe going tire tap to onto the deck. But what kind of advantage do you think he has being a vert rider in a park course?
Well, generally speaking, you're going to be comfortable with big transitions, but this course definitely has. You can see that vert wall that's well over the 10-foot mark. And the thing is, when you're really comfortable with those transitions, you can air out of them extremely high and keep your momentum and flow throughout the course. And especially setting up for speed over the box jump to throw down big tricks or unique transitions out there, unique tricks as well. And Vince definitely unleashing the hammer, just dropping it with that 360 downside whip. We're taking a look right here, and you see him grabbing the seat. Such a cool trick. Again, in all my years of announcing competitions, it's the first time I've seen that trick done. And Vince right there. I want you guys to let us know if you've seen it before, you haven't, let us know. You could follow along, like we said, either on Twitter or Instagram. Let us know at FISE World, or let at Ryan Meyer know, or at Daryl Now. And if you've seen that downside 360 Superman seat grab before. So coming in for run number 2, this is Michael Baran.
Michael Baran was actually helping his fellow teammates and competitor.
There you go, smashing it clean that time, going the distance and getting a little redemption on that bar spin that he was looking for. Going for an opposite wall ride. It's in his non-traditional way. Quick little foot jam right there, foot in the front tire, getting some speed for a big flare. Michael with the no-hand transfer. You see him just going over the transition and a front flip coming up.
Bar spin. This is kind of the more, I'd say, smaller street style of the I mean, in Edmonton and in Denver as well, we had kind of the skate street course built in. This is more the Chengdu style, where we have 3 separate courses. Nice inverted hand plant over the spine there.
Yeah, and it's a good point that you bring up, Ryan. This is a park course here where it's heavy on the transition. And which is cool about that, there's a lot of transfers that could be done. And when we talk about transfers, taking off from one ramp and landing onto another. You could jump and land into that curved wall ride or into the wall ride. There's a lot of options, but what you were talking about is that elevated part of the course. You have some of the smaller ramps out there, which could almost be considered more of a quote-unquote street area, because you could jump from that elevated part down to flat. But Michael right here, big run. He had that backflip, double tail whip, no problems. There was a look at that front flip. But again, it's overall impression. The fact that he wound up calling his first run halfway through definitely is going to wind up affecting his score. But looking to take run number 2 again, all the way from North Carolina. This is none other than Josh Perry. Josh with the 270 dropping in, very smooth. Again, Josh puts a lot of focus on the mental aspect of riding as well. Not only the health and nutrition, 720 X up.
To the moon though, that amplitude, and then popping so far back, almost a full meter, practically 4 feet back on that quarter-to-quarter whip there.
Yeah, as mentioned a few years back, and especially at the other stops as well, Josh Perry actually had a brain tumor where he found out by riding his bike. He went down, got a scan, and definitely it's a life-changing event finding that. But Josh Perry says, you know what, I'm going to change my life around and use it to my advantage. And he completely embraced a very healthy lifestyle. Thankfully beat the tumor, and out now he's been just spreading the word and spreading the gospel. Yes, big cannonball air of just positivity and really helping other riders, and also just getting behind anybody who wants to have a nutritious life change as well. So Perry right here, big flare coming up, washing out just at the end of his run. But Ryan, as we've said before at the other stops, if a rider falls at the very end of your run, it's not going to affect you as much as in the beginning of your run, because you're able to tally up all the points within that 60-second time, and the judges know, hey, you did your dirty work during the run, you were able to get those points in, and if you go down like that, especially at the buzzer, it shouldn't affect you too negatively.
As well, we take a look at this 270 drop-in at the start of his run. You may notice that that is significantly different than the drop-in from the huge sub-box on the honor ramp. You have to note that this is an overall impression of the 2 runs. So a great way that Joshua has completely switched up his runs for the judges to show an overall impression.
So right now the Russian locked and loaded, throwing up the double deuce right there. So cool right here at the finals. I know all the riders were looking forward to it. The fact that this is a worldwide event, we have riders represented from all over the world, not only with their nationalities, but their own styles. And Alex is definitely one stylish cat. Just look at how he flows around the park. Just big air into that vert wall, coming in with lots of speed. Whoa!
Oh, front flip turn down.
Very cool trick right there. You got to get completely sideways on the bike to get that turn down. There's that 360 again over the box jump backwards, catching that steep transition, landing 720. Oh!
Just going off a little bit hard on that rotation. Man, just going for the big, big tricks off of that honor box jump.
Just getting whiplash right there off the side of the bike. Thankfully, he's back up on the steed. Let's see, he's going to maybe stick it to the curved wall coming around. Tuck no-hander over the hip, showing the judge's head. Went down, but I got back on the horse. Front flip coming on up. Clock is ticking. And the Russian is going to wind up wrapping his run up, trying to put a couple tricks in here. Just putting a few more toppings on the Sunday. Big wall ride transfer going across the island right there. Backflip from the spine into the box jump. And that is going to be time for run number 2. Alex Nicolin. Yeah, so unfortunate going down right there, but very cool style. Like we said, he had that 360 over the box backwards. That 720 went a little bit haywire. He did have that very cool transfer into the vert wall. A lot of style. Here's a look at that front flip turn down. So cool. As I mentioned, you had to get your body weight off to the side so that you could put your cranks perpendicular and really torque into that turn down. So Alex getting run at number 2 under his belt. So I guess we're going to be giving our judges just a moment or two to tally up their scores and make sense of the riders of heat number 1. You're seeing out on the course, heat number 2 is just warming things up, getting their blood flowing before we are ready to drop our next 4 riders in heat number 2 of 6. So Ryan, take a look right there. Chengdu, China. We are in the heart of it all, downtown China, Chengdu. Crowd is just filtering into the park right here. You can actually see in the distance we have our skate park as well. So cool that FISE has so many different sports represented, especially here in our finals, bringing together athletes from all over the world. We've had over 2,000 professional athletes, 2,000 athletes that have been out here at FISE at all of our stops. Not to mention the fact that we've had almost 1,000 professionals, thousands of amateurs, and just tens of thousands, actually I'm going to say hundreds of thousands of fans, because we had almost 500,000 people in Montpellier alone. So we're taking a look at our next 4 riders. We've got Eric Figar, Jonathan Camacho, Jake Livia, and Wesley Hark, who are going to be 5, 6, 7, and 8 of our 24 riders. So we're going to start seeing some different styles out here. Jonathan Camacho is always a rider that I enjoy watching. He definitely has a little bit of a street vibe to his riding. It's going to be interesting to see how he winds up adapting out here on this park course. But look at this. Scores coming in, 79.66. Josh Perry setting the score to beat. Almost cracking into that 8-0. We got Vince Byron in there with the 73.66. Mr. Nicolin with a 69.66, and Michael Baran with a 58.66. So those are going to be your scores to beat the benchmark, so to speak, that the riders are going to be looking to wind up trying to surpass those scores, as we are only taking 12 into the final.
Speaking of some other riders that we maybe aren't going to be seeing into the final, we had an injury yesterday. Marian Rantis, I believe, is out with a broken ankle. He's gone back to Croatia to go deal with that injury, I'm assuming. So a couple riders that we're not going to be seeing in there, but what do you take of Drew qualifying first?
Sure, I'm so glad that Drew is out on this course. If there's ever a big, tall transition, if there's a sub-box or a curved wall ride, Drew's Bazanzin's name is usually not only written all over it, his tire marks are usually written all over it. So I'm excited to hear that Drew was tearing it up yesterday. I can't wait to see him riding here in the semifinals. He feeds off the energy of the crowd and always gets people cheering behind him. But right now, heat number 2, Eric Figar coming in, blasting out of that vert wall over the box jump. Yeah, great 4-hit combo, 360 bar spin, tuck, no-hander. Bar spin to foot jam, can over that top tube, a couple extra style points. Bar spin to tuck, no-hander. It's so cool to see that style, how comfortable he is just throwing the handlebars and then tucking the handlebars right up into the lap in order to spread the wings.
Oh, it was a quick double whip.
And do that no-hander. Foot jam, hitting that back peg for a peg bonk coming in, just showing how comfortable he is. Those little details like that are the things that judges like to see. Cool line right there, cutting across the flat bottom to set up for the hip so he can position himself for that 360 look back straight into the double tail whip, which he has on lock. Just hitting that trigger button, putting the 2 tail whips where most riders would only be doing a single.
So very well put together run. Perfectly caught all of his tricks.
Very cool way to wrap it up. That truck driver just floating on backwards right there. You see, getting a pound right there. Daniel Dhers currently sitting in that 2nd place in our points right there. It's all about the Clash of the Titans. But here's a look at that 4-hit combo. 1, 2, 3 with the 360. There was that lightning double tail whip that you mentioned, weight fully over the handlebars. And here is a look at that peg bonk coming in for the double pogo foot jam.
The judges are going to be tallying their scores up. You won't be seeing any of the highlight boards until we get through the 2nd runs, as this is a 2-run overall impression. But our next rider up, Jonathan Camacho from Ecuador. You said he has an amazing kind of street influence style out here.
Yeah, Camacho, always one of my favorites to watch. He's got a big smile plastered across his face, not only at the contests, but definitely at the after parties as well. Really just enjoying every single aspect that the FISE World Series has to offer, from really riding with the other pros to hanging with all the fans. Tail whip over the box backwards. Again, if you're gonna jump that box jump backwards, a lot harder to find that transition. Camacho, triple tail whip,
yes.
Whoa, almost having some difficulty with the first initial kick. Fully committed though to get that frame, continue with the rotation around. Double tail whip at height over the extended spine. Whoa!
Flared alley-oop whip.
Camacho.
Really on another level here than we've seen in previous FISE events.
Yeah, Camacho, you see he's got those 2 pegs, hasn't even utilized them out on this course. There is a wall ride coming back, just looking very comfortable in the air. Really cool tail up over the hip, like seeing those hips being utilized. Again, judges want to see a rider's unique approach on this course. It's built specifically for our final. So if a rider is hitting a certain hip, we're linking together and lacing to almost like a quilt out there, the fabric of their runs. That's what they want to see. And Camacho at the wall ride tail whip right there. I believe that's going to be time. Nice way to end it up right there. Wall ride tail whip pedals. So Camacho getting in the ring, throwing down some haymakers on his first run.
Now, I don't know if you know actually what hotel you're staying in, but the one that we're staying in right now, it has some theme rooms. Jonathan's staying in a Hello Kitty themed room. Very nice pink sheets. He said it accentuates his personality very well.
Well, I think the one thing about Camacho, his riding definitely was accentuating his personality. Very solid first run right here. Again, the score to beat is at 7-9, set by Joshua Perry. So Camacho, if he could keep together the 2nd run, similar to his first, I definitely have a feeling he's going to potentially be shaking up the top of that board out there. So Camacho getting run number 1 under the belt. But our 3rd rider yet to go, coming all the way from Tehachapi, California, the west coast of the United States, Mr. Jake Leva up there.
Getting all the training in at the Woodward West, I would assume maybe Nasty's facilities as well. Oh, look at that, 270 dropping from the top of that sub. Really difficult and going for the 3-tap over that. Woo! A little feisty on the power.
Yeah, I don't know if he wound up pulling some torque right there. Almost a Charles Townsend gate start, but it looked like maybe it was actually his foot might have got caught up on the deck. Double tail coming around, sliding the pedal. You mentioned the nasty one, Corey Nastasio. I just had the pleasure of riding trails with him 2 days ago out in Long Island at Kiko. Shout out to the Kiko boys, John Stavarla and Steve-O, who are out there watching, actually following along on FISE.tv. But right now, Mr. Jake Leva coming in over the box jump, backflip, double tail whip. Oh!
Oh, a little bit over-rotated on the flip portion of that triple combo there.
Getting tangled up, super slow motion crash. Thankfully, didn't go down too hard, all things considering. See him kind of adjusting and grabbing his groin. Hopefully he didn't smash the family jewels too hard and talking a few octaves higher. But again, going for that backflip double tail, getting off light. So there's a 270 coming in, Blind Faith dropping in over the shoulder off that big sub box. Here's a look at that backflip double tail whip. There you see missing the pedal a little bit, and it actually looked like his tire hit his leg right there. Wind up acting like an e-brake, almost putting him over the handlebars right there. So Jake having a little bit of trouble 3/4 the way through his first run out on the course. So 3 riders down, 1 more to go.
And it means our next rider up is going to be Wesley Hark. I believe he's just getting ready to drop right up here. You see another one of our leader actually in the back of our last stop leader.
So Wesley Hark, another Stallion Springs rider, Tehachapi area, double tail whip. You see that Woodward sticker on his helmet. That's where he calls home. And you can already see some of the big, very comfortable jumping tricks. But look at the speed right here. Where is he going?
Flying across
He
that
is coming in hot, Ryan.
Oh, hot indeed for the double flip.
Dropping it. Downside 360 tail up over the spine, tail tap. Right now, Wesley is in the zone. 720 over the spine. A lot more difficult, some might say, because you're only traveling about a foot distance as opposed to the 10-foot distance over the gap. So you have to spin with a much quicker rotation. Tail whip on the quarter pipe. Let's see, can he keep that momentum going? We talk about the end of the run being such an important factor.
The Wesley, actually, you might see that he's a little fatigued. I think that could be due to the double duty that he was just competing in the mountain bike semifinals only an hour previous to this. We've been noticing quite a few BMX riders kind of joining in the activities of mountain biking, as it is kind of a crossover. Drew Bezanson, for one, was doing this in Canada at some other stops. Ryan Nyquist, and as well you see here Mr. Hark doing the double duty. Check out this double backflip. We wondered why he was getting so much speed, and there you have it, that huge amplitude on the double flip.
Yeah, and that flare transfer right there, he caught at the bottom of the transition, but still able to keep his momentum rolling forward. So that was our 4th rider of heat number 2. We are gonna go back up to the top to Mr. Eric Figar. You see right now just kind of getting in the zone. You see right over his right shoulder, your current points leader, one of the Titans, Logan Martin, also your returning 2015 champion. So right now, Eric, though, dropping in. Aaron out of the vert wall, setting up for the box jump.
Triple tail whip, nice out of the gate, perfectly catches pedals. Goes back up to the top of the course here for a bit of tech lip tricks. Bar spin to foot jam.
And again, the judges are gonna wanna see a rider take kind of a different approach in different runs. They don't want to see the same run done twice. So even if a rider winds up cutting some corners a little bit different, again, I love seeing him just make that 90-degree turn on the right, on the flat bottom right there. The judges are going to want to see that. They want to see some variety out here and really watch a rider utilize the most of their time on the course. So right now, Figar coming up, alley-oop, wall ride, tail whip, transition to transition. Popping that flare, trying to find his footing out here. A lot of riders wind up planning their runs from beginning to end. If they wind up getting a little bit lost, you got to wind up finding where you're at. It looks like Eric did, going for that nose press 180, coming out of that stall on the wall. So Figar, run at number 2. Taking a look at that tail whip coming around. Here's a look at that 360X up over the spine, spotting the landing, coming in at the coping. So Mr. Camacho, what'd you say, Hello Kitty?
Hello Kitty room, yeah.
Hello Kitty. Big smile on the face right there. Camacho getting ready to take run number 2. So Camacho over that box jump backwards, 360 with the full bar spin, known as the truck driver, coming out of the wall. Backflip tail whip, a lot of boost. You see him hanging up his back tire a little bit, slipped the pedal, but able to keep it rolling. So obviously the judges are gonna wanna see a rider pull a trick very smooth and clean. If you fall, more points will be deducted as if you then slip a pedal or if you don't get across and find that landing. But Camacho definitely recovering, hopping a flare, that's a backflip 180, coming in with a smooth bar spin over the channel, putting his own style right there. You see, instead of just throwing the bars, he ended up guiding them with his hand through the entire spin. There's a tail whip across, almost missing the pedals, but making it look exciting right there. So Camacho coming into the spine, 360 tail whip. Oh!
Just going down hard there. Tough boy, though.
Yeah, so remember, Camacho had a solid first run. He just had a little bit of difficulties in the end of his second run. His overall impression, we were taking 12. We've seen 8 riders at 24 go, but Camacho hoping to be one of 12. There's a look at the double tail whip, weight over the handlebars right there to get that rotation coming around on the second go.
Check out how packed the audience is here out in China. Just amazing to have these guys welcome us with open arms here in the beautiful city of Chengdu. Jake Leva, he's about to take off on run 2.
Yeah, cool bunny hop tail whip coming in. Ice pick onto that step sub and then going over. Ice pick is when a rider will stall on their back peg. A toothpick is on the front. There you go, getting that 360 tail tap smooth. So you see Jake utilizing his back brake. Oh, going down on that flare tail whip. Jake getting back to his feet, back to the bike. You actually could hear the roar of the crowd cheering Jake on, getting behind him, saying, you know what, utilize the rest of your time out here, make the most of it, try to get into that top 12. Jake over the box jump. Whoa!
Ew. 360 double downside, but just not holding on there. Sometimes when you hit a bump, you just can't get back on the horse, and he was trying, just didn't quite get that rhythm.
Yeah, you can hear the support of the crowd just really backing our riders. So cool, like you said, being out here in Chengdu and the crowd just cheering, supporting, and being really into our action sports. So going down 2 times, but thankfully getting some good tricks in there as well. So Jake was our 3rd rider. That means that we have 1 rider left to take his second run of heat number 2. Coming all the way from US of A, Stallion Springs, west coast of California, doing double duty out here. This is Wesley Hark.
Wesley backwards on that box jump, 360, blasting up over the vert wall.
Whoa!
Whoa.
Oh!
Going down hard, backflip Superman X up.
Wow, going down hard indeed. Belly flop on the flat bottom. What a tough guy getting back on the bike. Nice to see riders tough as nails out here. Backflip over the spine. Wesley. Over the hip, setting up. Hip the opposite direction, getting the transition of that step up. Popping that flare 180. 450 over the hip. So if a rider were to, if you were to rotate the other direction, it'd be a 270. A regular straight box jump would be 360, and the fact that his rotation had to come around, that's why it's the 450, just because that hip's a little bit further of a spin. So Hark right there waving it off to the crowd again. Chengdu loving our BMX riders that are in the house. So cool that Mr. Hark traveled all the way from the other side of the planet and is just getting this red carpet welcome from all of our fans out here. You just see them pouring into our park in downtown Chengdu out here. But we're gonna look at a few of the highlights. Big flare, that is that backflip 180 landing high up on that transition. Again, he went down on that backflip Superman X-up. So what we're gonna do right now is give our heat number 3 a warm-up out on the course while the judges make heads or tails of heat number 2. And what we are gonna see, Ryan, once the scores wind up rolling in, is where our riders sit. Because it doesn't matter if you're in heat 1 or 6, you are gonna be competing against the other riders to see who has the top points to qualify for our final. So look at that course out here, so cool. So many transitions, so many unique features. I love seeing that big curved wall ride out there. Also that island with that transfers in. We saw Alex Nicolon already taking advantage of that. You mentioned that yesterday in our qualifier. Drew Bezanson was flying around the course and blasting on up. But we're taking a look right now at our next 4 riders out on the course. The Canadian, Mike Varga. We also have the Ripper from the UK, Alex Coleborn. Another UK rider, Tom Eisted, and none other than Mr. Backflip Drop-In himself, Kenneth Tensio, for our, our 4 riders of heat number 3.
So if you guys are joining us online or around the world, any stops, this is the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup semifinals. And this is the 5th and final stop here at the 5th and final stop of FISE World Series presented by Honor. We're here in Chengdu. I am Ryan Meyer, joined by Daryl now, and we are getting ready to drop heat number 3. First rider to drop is going to be Mike Varga from Canada. We're going to have to see how this pans out. We're going to be taking 12 riders from massive heat out here in Chengdu, and we're going to be pushing them all into the finals tomorrow. See who takes the top honors. It's about the battle, though, the points lead. Daniel Dhers and Logan Martin. Those are the 2 to watch right now. Who's going to be taking the overall? They're only a couple hundred points away from each other. It's going to see who is taking it. Right now, we have in first place Josh Perry, second Mr. Figar, third Byron, Nukulin in 4th, Camacho in 5th, and Hark finishing off in 6th position right there. Mike Varga, the Canadian boy, starting it off for his first attempt at the draw. This is run 1 of heat number 3, dropping right now.
So the Canadian Mike Varga coming in, been tearing it up all season long. I really got to say, I'm a big fan of Varga's riding. He's got rotations on lock, blasting out of the frame right there. I believe that was a 540, might have been a double bar spin. There's a chance we could see a replay, but the thing that we've got to really focus on right now is Varga coming into our box jump portion of the course. 360 full bar spin. Varga up the vert wall, coming on in. 360 double tail whip, grabbing the pedals, looking so confident on his bike. You can tell when a rider looks comfortable, and Varga is doing just that with the height on his air. Still really impressed with the second hit out there, that 540 double bar spin, so cool. But Varga really gonna wanna utilize the tech part of the course with these hips. Whoa, 450 tail whip.
Absolutely amazing riding from the Canadian boys here at the Chinese course. I really like to see that Varga is back on point as well. Had a bit of difficulty at the last 2 rounds. Look at that cork 540 or flare bar spin, as we as well can call it.
Now that is the lit fuse with the dynamite exploding at the end of your run with height. You see him getting some props out there from Josh Perry. You see Kenneth Tensio in the background, who's yet to ride in the heat, getting in the zone. But Varga really lit that fuse right in the beginning. 540 double bar spin at height, exploding out on the course. Kept that momentum cruising at high speeds throughout the entire run with that 360 double tail whip. Here's a look at that 450 tail whip, and here is an explosive flat spin, flare, bar spin at the end of the run, showing the judges he's looking confident.
Alex Coleborn from Great Britain doing it for Total BMX and Monster Energy Drink. Look at that opposite bar spin drop in. Huge knack-knack transfer.
Whoa! Coleborn out there just twisting that frame around, manhandling the course. Coleborn definitely has what it takes to be on top of the podium. He's done it in our first stop in Montpellier, and Coleborn out here just really making his presence known on the course. Look at him charging up, flare with that bar spin, coming back hot. Airing over the hip. Yeah, 270 floating on in. Coleborn hand plant on the vert wall. No-handed 360 on the spine. Coleborn is such a technical rider. At the end of the run is usually where he tends to shine, getting very tech with lip tricks. That's when you're on top of a ramp. Yeah, like that tail whip to foot jam.
Yeah, beautiful execution as he just went through all the hugest tricks possible on the box jump and all the big transition features. He shows that he has that tech ability as well on top of the lip tricks.
Yeah, and especially you talk about being technical, the lip tricks, that's when a rider shows they have a lot of bike control. A lot of times those tricks can take a lot of energy to wind up pulling off. But Coleborn right there, I believe that was maybe a triple. Yeah. Was that a quadruple?
That was a triple 360 whip.
Unbelievable. I mean, bike is flying so fast. Again, we've got our judges out there. They've got 12 eyeballs that are actually on, and whatever we call, whether something's opposite or regular, is zero impact. So we've got them out there. We're doing the shots from our house. Big air right there from Tom Isted. Look at the height on that backflip as well. Very cool so far, seeing stripped down riding, just really classic height. Bring it to his own level.
Coming around on that hip section, blasting the vert wall into the honor. Whoa, double backflip.
The juice is loose right there. Double flip 2 times around. Tom landing a little low, but able to recover his momentum on that vert wall. Yeah, quick in the heels right there. There is no place like home or no place like China for our semifinal with a 720 over that spine. And going off the course, exit stage left to a roaring applause from our Chinese fans. Wow, talk about putting on a show right there. A couple big tricks. I would say my personal favorite highlight of his entire run was the height of his first 3 hits. I mean, not to mention that double flip, which is enormous, but really blasting like that. We've yet to see any rider go with some of that height out of the quarter pipes. So here we're taking a look. Tabletop, unofficially the highest air so far that we've seen on the course. Very cool angle right there, getting under the carriage and seeing the height. Right now, looking to take his first run out of the course, none other than Mr. Kenneth Tencio. Such a great rider. Kenneth, known for his red carpet entrances. You see him so focused in the zone, getting ready to drop. Knows that the finals are important out here, wants to make his presence known. Tencio, focused.
Tencio coming for that signature backflip drop in.
Wow, all season long, Tencio with one of the harder tricks out onto the course. First rider to ever do that, the late, great Dave Mira. You can see Dave Mira's presence known in 2016. Tencio paying some homage to one of the best to ever do it in BMX Freestyle. But right now, Tencio coming into our box jump. Ooh, yeah, 360 Superman seat grab into that tail whip. Whoa, transfer right there from the spine to the box, if I'm not mistaken, with that backflip. Very cool transfer. Not traveling a lot of distance, going forwards right there, so you see how committed he has to be traveling onto the landing of the box jump. Tencio with a flare. Clock is winding down. Let's see if Tencio can keep racking those points. So he's going to wave it up. The crowd is just going nuts out here for Tencio. I mean, that is how you make your name known around the world at every single FISE stop. Tencio with this backflip drop in. So crazy. That is a 6-foot quarter pipe coming in. Not easy to do. Tencio has been known to throw down off of either the larger quarter pipes or even a subwall, like Dave Mira did for the first time. But when you make the ramp smaller and smaller and smaller, essentially you have less time to get that rotation and that flip around. So Tencio is going to be our 4th rider to go of heat number 3. That means one thing, back to the top of the pack. So our Canadian Mike Varga locked and loaded. You see him waving to the crowd. The smile is on his face. Let's see if Varga keeps up with some of those high airs like he had that big blasting 540 double bar spin. Oh.
Yeah, there we go again. That huge blasted 540 double bar spin into a 360 downside tail backwards on that spine jump. Hand plant on the honor wall. Coming over to the box jump backwards. Truck driver.
So Varga's got some wild rotations. We actually saw in Osijek, Croatia, he threw down that 900 variation, a 900 bar, I believe. But right now, coming in over the spine, 360 tail whip, catching the pedals, plenty of time to wind up throwing in that nosedive, wall tap coming back. So Varga's just got to keep his momentum cruising and really find his lines. He looked very confident out here. Varga's been in the finals a lot in our 4 stops prior, wants to be in there tomorrow.
So Varga doing a very good job of showing an overall to the judges here. Switching up the lines quite significantly. 360 downside whip there. Also known as a decade, and the Chinese crowd loves it. Giving him a huge round of applause as he finishes off his second and final run here for the semifinals.
Varga, look at the height. Dare I say that he actually had a little bit more style and control than his first time, which I thought was perfect when we saw it. But you see that rotation on the second bar spin was even slower, and he had the ability to tuck his bike a little bit, slowing down the rotation, just showing you how comfortable, how in control, and how much skill Mike Varga has out here on the course. So looking to take run number 2. As mentioned, he won our first stop out in Montpellier back in May. This is the UK rider, the total BMX rider, the man with total control. This is Alex Coleborn. So Coleborn, big bar spin, tuck, no-hander, a lot of height over the extended spine, tail whip transfer on that step down from the taller quarter pipe. Look at that 360 tail whip.
Oh man, and perfect transition on that small 4-foot quarter.
Coleborn, yeah, I like the way that he's cutting up those lines, coming back into that steeper wedge and a tail whip. So cool how he nose-dove into that transition.
Yes, into that 720 bar it looked like.
This is signature Coleborn right here. A lot of big tricks, a lot of big transfers. Hand plan up. Let's see if Coleborn winds up getting tech for the final parts of his run. 360 double tail whip. There is a flare bar spin. So far, this is one of the best runs that we've seen all day. Coleborn 270 bar spin. Going for that bar spin foot jam, 540.
Nice bar spin in.
And let's see, Alex, is he gonna cram in one more? Foot jam tail whip. Throwing it up to the crowd. You hear them just rewarding a very solid run with a lot of noise. Coleborn right there getting it done for run number 2. Unofficially, I'm going to say that was one of the more solid runs that we've seen out here. Coleborn, very unique, transferring on up with that 360 tail whip. You see him catching that little transition. 2
amazing transfers.
And then coming back in, I love the fact that he wound up cutting that smaller ramp and dropping back in. Again, those are the little details that the judges want to see. In all honesty, that's what Ryan and I want to see up here as well. We're not giving the scores, but we're calling the action. And it's very cool when a rider comes out and gives it his own approach. Well, looking to give his own approach in run number 2. We saw in run number 1, he had that height, the unofficial highest air with that tabletop. Tom Isted coming in, doing it from Mongoose Bike. Shout out to Lee Ramsdale, the Mongoose TM, who's cheering on his rider blast into the moon out there with that tabletop backflip no-hander.
Huge, huge amplitude, like you said, unofficially one of the highest airs that we've seen out there. Now he's going into that left and right hip section, utilizing tricks on both of those features, and where he did that huge trick last time.
Oh, yeah, double whammy, doing that backflip 2 times in one air, full commitment. Tom Isted dropping bombs out here, delivering the goods. Yes, look at that backflip transfer, spine into the box jump. So cool, and that alley-oop almost going off the stage into the crowd, but keeping it together. Making a hard right back onto the course, transferring over that spine. Let's see what he's gonna do for a bookend and a decade 2 pedals. Wow. Tom almost going down. Almost is the key word, because anything is possible out there. Going for that. I guess the key word is almost a high five right there. Kenneth Tensio was already in transition, going up on the other side. But Tom, we're taking a look. Tabletop, you see him just milking that transition. getting that full pump coming up. There's a look at that 540 flat spin. Here is the big bomb-dropping double backflip coming around. And decade air wrapping around that head tube. Ruel Eriksson was one of the first riders to throw down decade airs later on.
Ruel Eriksson, nice to bring out the history books again.
Yeah, you gotta pay homage to the riders that went out there and gave some blood, sweat, and tears, and Ruel was definitely one of them who was completely committed to the decade air, primarily on dirt jumps. But then we also had, years later, John Parker was definitely committed to not only doing the decade air, but also the Drano air. But right now, looking for run number 2, focused. Kenneth Tensio on top of the wall.
Oh my word, that was one of the biggest backflip drop-ins I've ever seen.
Hey now, bringing it in big, Tensio, run number 2. Some might say that's hitting him with the hind right here. No-hander, transfer, going the distance. Yes! Superman C-grab into that tail whip. He did it in a 360 his first run, but Tensio is really, really showing how he's confident on the course, racking it up. Really no stale walls out here, a lot of variety. Tensio 360, very reminiscent of his Croatia riding. I say that because he was killing it out in the finals. Big extension on that 360 Superman C-grab. Tensio just looks locked and loaded in Chengdu, so comfortable on that 720. Big flare, throwing up the hand, pumping up the crowd. There you go, Tensio is psyched.
Beautiful, beautiful second run there for Ken.
There's so much nerves coming into the finals. This is the big show here in Chengdu. Look at that backflip dropping in off the wall. That's like riding off a second story of your house. Imagine that, going up. Next time you're cleaning the leaves off the gutters of your house, think, hey, you know what? I'm gonna backflip off the side of this thing. And that's basically what Kenneth Tensio just did, dropping the hammer. So Tensio is going to wrap up heat number 3. So that means that we had Varga, Coleborn, Eisted, and Tensio. The judges are going to make sense of those scores, but we're taking a look at Kevin Peraza, my man Jack Clark, your current second points. I guess you're going to say leader coming in here to the finals. Daniel Dhers, and last but not least, number 16, the Russian Kostya Andreev. Are going to be your next 4 riders of heat number 4. So we have a very, very stacked heat right there. Kevin Peraza, X Games gold medalist. Jack Clark, some of the most unique style that we've seen in the first 4 stops prior. Daniel Dhers, I'm going to say multiple X Games gold medalist, multiple Dew Cup winner. And actually, if you name it, he's won it, because in 2014, he won our FISE overall championship. And Mr. Kostya Andreev is no slouch on a bike as well. He's been tearing it up all year long. So impressed with his riding. Been in the finals a lot, and he's really been making a name for himself out here at the FISE World Series. So we're taking a look at the battlefield before our riders drop in. And we're going to see some madness getting turned up as the heats progress.
So the riders are just going to be warming up. About a minute left for heat number 4. I love watching the man who's up on deck, Kevin Peraza. He did our course preview. He's about to drop in. He's one of the most fun riders for me to see ride. He always has a huge smile on his face. I think that's one of the biggest things to note. Guy who's always having fun is a man who we always love to watch. And especially this Chengdu crowd seem to love the Tuscan boy out here on course.
Yeah, talk about watching Peraza. We've got all the Tucson family out there. Premise Skate Park up on the big screen right now, watching Kevin's runs, cheering him on, watching online, FISE.tv. Just really getting behind Kevin. It's so cool too, Kevin's got a huge BMX family. We actually saw it the last couple stops, joined by his brothers out there. We had Victor, we had Eddie, and right now it's gonna be all about Kevin Peraza coming on in on the course. As mentioned, he's currently sitting in 14th overall in points. But we're going to take a look at our weather conditions. Sunny, that is definitely what you want to see. 15 degrees Celsius. Not too hot, not too cold, kind of the right temperature where you want to ride. That wind is out there at 15. The wind could definitely be a factor, especially if it's gusting. But right now it looks pretty ideal, especially if you look at those flags in the background.
See, those are our mountain bike boys chilling on their part of the course. That's a step-down feature, and we see the world's best mountain bike athletes showing their homage to the BMX fans and to the BMX riders that they have loved to watch for their entire upbringing, giving them some inspiration into their riding and what they know now as their profession. So it's very nice to have all the disciplines out here at the FISE. Let's take a look at our leaderboard. Coleborn on top there. Kenneth Tencio moves in the second position, but Peraza dropping in for his first run. 360 1-foot can sailing over that, tons of style. Whoa, check out the width on that flare whip.
Peraza, energy shot out of a cannon, shot into that wall ride. Whoa!
Blasting that invert after that 360 whip, Superman C-Grab Indian Air to the moon on that vert quarter.
I like that we had that Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure unison. Whoa, because Peraza is on it right now. Look at that use of the course. No other rider cut the corners hard like that, hitting up all those wall rides coming on back, especially with that tail whip. Peraza getting his swing at that height pole up there. Big tabletop downside 360 tail whip over the step down. That is blind faith. When you're coming from a higher lip into a smaller landing, there's less transition to grab. Peraza, big Superman C-Grab, really looking comfortable out here, showing you why he's won big contests like Simple Session, also an X Games gold medalist, and there's that smile on his face, doing it for the fans out here in China.
Oh, I love it how this kid is just having so much fun on his bike every single time he's out there. It's really what we want to see. So it gives us the most enjoyment as commentators, as spectators, and as well as fellow riders, to see somebody just enjoying it as much as Mr. Peraza does.
Wow, so Peraza out there again, hitting him with the hind, just throwing down that big style and big smiles. But if we're gonna mention style, it's this guy, Mr. Jack Clark, coming from the UK, doing it for tall order, getting a pound right there before he starts. As we mentioned at each one of our stops, especially out in Denver, Jack had some of my favorite style in the course. Not only does he have a crazy ability to spin 360s, also throw the handlebars. Oh, there we go, putting them both together, 360 double bar spin, but can also get extremely tech with his pegs. So there you see a 360 bar spin, no-hander. I gotta say, Ryan, Jack Clark is coming out. He means business out here. He's currently sitting 4th overall in points. That means that he is potentially on podium for year end. And Jack has been riding great all year and really bringing the heat for our final. 540 flat spin right here. Suicide no-hander. Tail whip to tabletop.
Big tricks from the young UK rider. As he gets, oh, look at that transfer flare. Had to pull back a bit, getting into that outside quarter pipe. 1-foot can over the other section and pushing in. 2 little foot jam, nose bonk over the hip again, back into the spine, showing some tech stuff as he usually does towards the end of his runs. 540, and that's going to do it, finishing it off for the first run of Mr. Clark.
Yeah, so Jack Clark getting a solid run in that under his belt. Again, it's best overall of 2 runs that count. So a rider wants to make sure going into the semifinal here that they really get tricks that they're comfortable and confident on, like that 360 double bar spin to tuck no-hander, but can really finish out their entire run. Because if you do go down, even if you had a solid run and a lot of tricks prior, there's a good chance that you're not going to be able to qualify, because we have 24 of the world's best. And if you're going to mention the world's best, right now, currently sitting in 2nd place, he is one of the Titans who are battling it out for overall. This is none other than X Games gold medalist, Dew Cup winner, won almost every contest under the sun. The crowd is going nuts for him. coming all the way originally from Venezuela, now via North Carolina. This is Daniel Dhers.
And Daniel Dhers, actually, we've mentioned that, you know, if we're going to mention the best, he's going to be on top with tricks like that, 720, and that signature style tail whip. But last time when we saw us in Edmonton, Daniel actually had some trouble in the qualification, almost didn't qualify. We were unsure if he was going to make it above that 13th place into the 12th place spot for the finals. He did, however, and ended up pushing through as he always does. Let's see how he does in semifinals. Looks like a jam-packed run. A lot of Daniel Dhers signatures coming up out of the bag.
Yeah, Daniel right here, again, this season, with the exception of last stop, was Mr. Consistent. He got second place at our first 3 stops and really awarded with the big points. He knows what it takes. He's a veteran. He's one of our older competitors at this competition, and he can really dissect the course. You see him utilizing almost every single ramp out there. He's had no flat walls, and what I mean by that, he's thrown a trick down on every single ramp out there, really looking as far as what the judges want to know, and they want to see a lot of action, really packed into that 60 seconds and showing full control over the course. So there is that 720. Daniel is one of the first riders to really start doing off-axis 720s about, I'm going to say 12 years ago or so, and it made it be the kind of standard and staple which a lot of riders spin. So there you see Daniel kind of giving a throwback. Talking about our next rider, third rider coming in, the Russian, Mr. Kostra Andreev. Back in Montpellier, he actually won our best trick competition. On the mini ramp, I believe he did a lip trick where he wound up doing super tech with tail whips in there. So let's see if he winds up bringing some big jumping tricks like that tail whip to tabletop, or if he'll pepper in some tech ability as well.
Oh,
holy
my.
cow.
Look at how he just twirled that around as if it was a soup pan or something. 450, I don't know, quadruple bar
450
spin.
craziness.
Yeah.
Throwing the bars, putting a hand in the fan, White Snake style out there. Yes, transfer right there, tabletop. You see him getting that extra boost, laying his bike over and utilizing his legs to really pull that frame up. So right there, transfer in, transfer out with the tail up 270, landing a little low. You see he lost a lot of his speed and momentum, and he's got to burn a lot of energy to get it going back up by pedaling. So the Russian right here, you see him shaking his head a little bit. That might mean that he was lost, but by doing that disaster to full revert coming back in, looks like he found his footing pretty quickly. Throwing the hand up right there, wrapping up his first run out on the course.
Kostra looks like he was happy but not fully content with that run. I would have definitely been after doing some of the tricks he did. 360 whip to tuck no hander, beautiful execution, that downside whip alley-oop. Disaster, the full revert out.
So that means we are going to go back up to the top. You see the man grooving and moving right here, getting in the zone. The smile is on, the fingers are moving. That means Kevin Peraza is dropping in. 360 can again, so stylish, just stepping through his top tube. Flair with that invert tabletop again. Shout out to Nasty, one of the first riders to really put that backflip invert, aka the backflip tabletop, on the map. Look at the height again.
So high on that quarter pipe transfer first and then into that box jump.
That's that style we're talking about, just that confidence out there. Peraza around the curved wall. Oh, so cool.
Whoa.
So cool. That is how you link together some lines out there. Really just turning it around the world on that curved wall and then coming in for a Ruben-esque style wall ride. So that's what we talk about, lines out there. Unique approach. Coming in. Oh! Going down kind of hard right there.
Pretty hard, actually. It's unexpected. Crash. Hands up, showing he's okay, but he's going to have to shake that one off. That was actually very hard no matter how you work it. Sometimes the really hard ones that hurt the most.
Yeah, and a lot of times, too, good to see Kevin back up on the horse, but a lot of times you have so much adrenaline running through your system, it takes a moment to really feel what's going on. But right there, 360 with that big tabletop after the variation, showing total domination over the box jump. there is that decade around the head tube. So as we mentioned, Roel Eriksson was one of the first riders to start throwing down the decades, and then years later, Daniel Tunte, first rider to really bring it to the streets with Kevin Peraza, quick in tow, and you see right over the spine. But right now, Jack Clark coming from the UK, getting cheered on by his team captain, Sebastian Keep right now. Big curved wall ride, throttle on into the box
love
jump.
That line, beautiful line. Never seen someone do that on course yet. Flowed so perfectly together right there.
Unofficially, I'm going to give that the Daryl Now line of the day right there. Jack Clark coming around that curved wall, hot to trot. Able to get the speed. We see every other rider coming in off the vert wall, but Jack Clark saying, you know what, I'm going to put the throttle pin around that curved wall, land with not a lot of flat bottom in between the box jump, and there is that fast plant air 540 bar spin. Jack Clark trying to keep things rolling with that manual across wedge to wedge. Excuse me, transition to transition. There is a Canadian foot jam. It's called Canadian because he's balancing on the coping. Big air on that 360 tabletop, showing the judges, you know what, the clock is winding down, but my endurance is still going strong at the end of my run. Big ups to Jack Clark, and just look at the fans out here in Chengdu cheering on. Getting a quick pound from Kevin Peraza. I gotta say, that line coming in for that Superman seat grab, the fact that he came in off that wall ride right there.
That was amazing. That was so fluid, completely right, utilizing every inch of that wall to quarter pipe and not missing the line at all, holding so strong and directly into that Indian air. It was just beautiful.
So Jack Clark in the running for the Daryl Now line of the day. But right now, Daniel Dhers, very solid first run. This man is known to bring it when it counts. Mr. Consistency, as mentioned, he's second place in our first 3 competitions, Montpellier, Croatia, and out in Denver. He knows what it takes, he knows what the judges want to see, and he knows what the fans want. Right now, Daniel Dhers, 360 bar spin, box jump backwards, up out of the vert wall, coming in hot, 2 trot, 720 off axis no-hander, double tail whip coming around.
Backwards on that box jump, 360 X up. It's much more difficult than going straight this way. There's that signature 360 no foot cannon tail from Daniel Dhers. Bar spin on that quarter, Aaron back into the spine section.
No stale airs from Daniel. Wall tap, you see him pulling that back brake, coming on in, setting up that 360 tail whip transfer. Flare, no-hander. The points are racking up. The time is winding down. If Dhers can keep it together, this is going to be another solid score. He is one of the Titans. It is a points race for 1 and 2 out here. Logan Martin currently in first, and only 200 points behind is Daniel Dhers. So it's really going to come down to if Logan can get in the finals and Daniel can get in the finals, what will happen? So Daniel getting a very solid second run. Going to take a look at that no-handed off-axis 720. Here's a double tail whip coming around. And Dhers, no-handed flare with no problems at all. And there's a look at that invert tabletop with a flare.
And Kostya Andreev will be going in for his last attempt here. The overall impression, the Russian Red Bull rider has been doing well, especially on the FISE series. Has some of the most technical tricks and can spin the bars more than anyone I know. He's looking for a little one-foot can out of that one, it looked like, but hopping into the wall.
So the Russian firing out with the 360 double tail whip, looking for that tuck. Big air on that bar spin to the tabletop. Slipping a pedal a little bit, but setting up that wall ride coming on in. Transfer to the right, transfer to the left with a tail whip, and I believe a bar spin right there on that 450. Bar spin to toboggan. 360 double bar spin, having those handlebars just hitting that button and spinning around on pop and lock. 450 bar spin. The Russian right now, again, we mentioned he can get extremely tech. We saw him go for that 540. Oh! Wow. Like I said, mentioned out in Montpellier, he did that 540 tail whip to foot jam. There you see a variation right there coming down, disaster. Kostra, you see actually shaking his head a little bit as he went down, but still had a pretty solid run out there. Again, his overall impression, I got to tell you, I was definitely impressed with tricks like that 360 double tail whip, looking for the tuck no-hander, but still an impressive trick even without that fourth one thrown in. So that is going to wrap up heat number 4. That means we still have 2 more heats to go. We are going to give riders of heat number 5 a moment or two to kind of get that blood flowing, get the juices marinating before we watch them out on the course. So again, technically the way this is working, we are doing reverse order of qualifying. So as the heats progress, our riders in our qualifiers technically rode the course with a little bit, as in the judges' eyes, a little more style, a little more points. So we're going to start to see the riding really intensify and pick up out here. So we're looking at our Russian Eric Razayev, followed by the UK's Declan Brooks. Your number 1 qualifier, the Canadian that you were psyched to see out here yesterday, Drew Bezanzin. And then welcomed out here from Canada, this was one of your top 5 finishers, Mr. Colton Walker. So those are a look at your 4 riders. We have 8 riders yet to go. If you're just joining us, this is the FISE World Series. Stop number 5 of 5 out here, our semifinal. We had 24 riders out on the course. They are each broken down into 6 separate heats, 4 riders apiece. And they are going to have 2 runs out on the course. It is going to be overall impression that counts, and we are taking 12 moving on to the final.
You want to make sure you tune in with us on all the social channels. Make sure you like us at the official Facebook page of the FISE. It's called the FISE.official. That's where you can find us. If you're more of an Instagram or Twitter guy or gal, make sure you check us out at FISE World. And Snapchat, that's where you can get all that exclusive instant 15-second video content. Our Snapchat handle is FISE World Series. Make sure you hashtag all your posts FISE World to get involved with all the action. As well, if you're looking for some more media content, some more video and up-to-date scheduling or other rider bio info, you can check out FISE.tv for all the remaining info. Back to heat number 5. This is our most international ranked one. We have Russian, Great Britain, Canadian, and Canadian, I believe, as well in this heat. This is going to be our top qualifiers from the qualification yesterday, as well as Colton Walker, our first invited rider out on to the semifinals here.
So as we're waiting for our judges and riders to get fully into place, we're taking a look at our fans just pouring into our park out here. So cool that BMX is worldwide, and FISE is the premier event bringing it to you and bringing it to fans. And one of the very special things about FISE is not only do we have the pro-level riding, but there are all different classes out here. We have girls classes, we have amateur classes, we have expert classes. So in all of our different stops around the world, the party and the invitation is open for each rider out here to make a name for themselves and to wind up progressing and moving forward with the tour. Such a cool event, and even beyond the riding, the partying, the lifestyle, being a part of the sports, being a part of the community, it is all represented. So look at this, we have our scores coming in. Coleborn still standing on that top spot with the 91.66, but the story is Daniel Dhers moving in with an 86.66. Kenneth Tencio, Mike Varga, Jack Clark, and Mr. Joshua Perry. So with the things to note, we're taking 12 moving on to the finals. That means that Daniel Dhers is sitting in a very, very confident and comfortable spot. It's safe to say that he is going to make it to the finals. That means that Logan Martin, who is still yet to ride, has got to secure himself a spot in the finals in order to make sure that Daniel doesn't snatch the title away from him.
Irek Rizov from Russia. Man who has insane trick ability. All these Russian riders, actually, they're on a different level, I think, sometimes. It's virtually like watching a video game, but this kid in particular.
Yeah, Irek really made a name for himself earlier this year at Simple Session with some of the craziest variations, It really, when you have over 100 riders at a top-level contest like that, where you can stand out and make your name highlighted in bold, and he's just done that in caps and on italics for the rest of the season here at FISE is so cool. Look at the style right there in that 360 unlook down. Tail whip to tuck no-hander. The Russian firing back with the tail whip in the opposite direction. Looking to keep that momentum. Flare going up, washing out. That's unfortunate, but able to keep it back up on the momentum. Toboggan over the step up, landing a little flat. Irek's got a lot of probably nerves and excitement coming into our final right here. Hopefully he kind of worked it out once he wound up washing out a little bit. Double tail whip, box jump backwards, not easy to do. Increasing the level of difficulty. Superman seat grab. Bar spin to tabletop. And it looks like that is going to do it for run number 1 from Irek. So, as mentioned, a lot of nerves go into this competition. This is the big show. This is one of the only worldwide series out there for BMX. All of our riders have really been focusing, looking forward to this. And there's a lot of excitement. You want to make it into the finals. And Irek getting a little bit lost out there. You saw he wound up falling on that flare coming down the quarter pipe, wound up washing out to the side. So I was a little bit lost out on the course. Still had some big solid tricks in there. And if he is able to keep it together in run number 2, potentially qualified.
Declan Brooks, a man who's really been coming into his nature in the FISE series.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Declan's riding. Shot out of a cannon. I got to say, I love the Metallica shirt. Yeah, big transfer. In Edmonton, he was rocking a Metallica t-shirt, fueled by Cliff Burton, but out here he's fueled by big transfers, 360 double bar spin. So far, a great run. That's, again, no other riders taking the approach to the course this way. 360 bar spin to tail whip.
Laying back, going backwards on the course. Now 360, 1-foot can backwards on that box jump. Hand plant way high on the honor wall. 90 turning right at the bottom there. Huge amplitude on that spine backflip.
Bar spin firing back. Oh, good style right there. Double bar spin. You saw he just, you know what? I'm going to hang out for a minute while my bars rotate 2 full times around. Most riders we've seen on the double bar spin, they wind up throwing it, catch, throwing it. Cool spin coming up. That was a play out of Alex Coleborn's book, I believe. Having a little trouble at the end of the run, but big ups. Declan Brooks out here. And again, having another great season. Declan currently sitting in 6th overall points. Look at that no-hander floating across the course. One of the biggest transfers we've seen so far today.
Absolutely massive. I like how these riders are finding some very unique transfers on course here.
Yeah, I'd say Declan out there bringing the heat. But if you can talk about a rider bringing the heat, yesterday our #1 qualifier. That's right. Out of 30 riders, he rode the course with top honors to our judges. He is a Canadian. He is a madman, and he is a rider that does double duty in mountain bikes and BMX. And he is definitely a crowd favorite. This is none other than Drew Bazanzin.
Check out this drop in, folks.
Oh!
Into a huge flip whip. He is the only rider you're going to be even seeing attempt that curved wall drop in. Absolutely insane riding ability out of the young Canadian boy.
Wow, this is Bazanzin in his finest right here. When a course really speaks his volumes with a big sub box or big wall rides, Drew drops in, lights up the course, and feeds off of that energy from the crowd, going up into a foot jam from an ice pick on the vert wall. Can he do it? Yes!
Yes, Mr. Bazanzin. This is the riding that we've been waiting for all year.
Bazanzin is just setting the course on fire. It's as if he threw kerosene across the top decks, and just everywhere he goes, a blazing inferno is following behind him. 360 over the box jump, over the spine, going down right here, but you know what? That is not going to hurt his score at all. What an explosive run out here. The crowd is going wild. That's how you do it. If you could say, you know what, I got to qualify, be one of the top 12 to make it in, There you see a very end of his drop-in backflip with that tail whip, but to roll in off that curved wall of the sub and come in on like that, unbelievable. There you go, ice pickup, foot jam balancing, dropping all the way in into the quarter pipe. Big ups for Drew. It'll be interesting to see what his run number 2 is, but that first run was something else.
Colton Walker up next, the American boy from New Richmond.
So Colton's been having a big year earlier. Yes,
Whoa,
good
like that
style.
one as well.
Very cool, hitting that tight corner pocket right there. It's almost like an 8-ball corner pocket, 270 bar spin. Colton's been having a very big year. In June at the Nitro Circus Games, he actually won first place in the triple box jump competition. So that means that he's very comfortable with jumping variations and getting very technical with his airs. Colton, no-hander on the hip. 270 tail up going the other direction. Giving a quick high five to the honor vert wall.
Yeah, during that transfer, not many riders we've seen do that today, from the spine to the box landing. Downside whipping into the hip there and back around to the box jump. Maybe a little
450 bar spin. Popping a flare right there. That's that backflip 180, throwing it up to the crowd.
That is going to do it for Colton Walker's first run here.
So that means heat number 5, we went through the pack. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to go back up to the top with the Russian. But first, we're going to take a look at what the highlights, the exclamation points, the highlighter in Colton Walker's run. There's that 270 over the hip. Very good effort. So we're going back to the top, the Russian, Eric Rizev, getting ready to bring it. We saw some big variations. I love that 360 unturned down. But let's see if he can wind up linking it together with that confidence that he's been known for in 2016.
Yeah, catching tranny on that, which he was looking for at the start. Has an interesting way that he was transferring over. Oh, 360 bar spin to Superman C-Crep Indian Air. Nice little Cali style table, that invert hand plant on the small honor wall, back across the right side, over that big spine, 360 double bar spin and into the quarter pipe, tail whip to little tabletop, double whip backwards over the spine, coming up into the small quarter pipe here with a beautiful flare.
There you go, looking up the step, wall ride to bar spin. Digging deep right here, trying to get that throttle going. 270 bar spin up. Quick foot jam, no-hander. Toboggan coming down. You can tell he's winded. This is when he's got to really dig deep and make sure he can spray it out over the box. Yeah, triple tail whip. Oh, almost taking a knee right there. At the rodeo, able to hold on to the beast. Wild to throw a triple tail whip right there at the end of your run. You're very winded.
So winded.
You saw he had to pedal so hard to get his momentum back. Very cool variation right there to grab the seat on that 360. Tail whip to tabletop, throwing in some style right there.
Gonna go back up to the top. Declan Brooks from Great Britain, as we said, a man who's kind of come into his riding abilities here at the FISE. We've really liked to see how he's doing contests these days. Suicide no-hander starting it off and up, a huge manual on the sub box.
Can he do it? That's the question. Looking to go the distance around the turn. Where's he going, Ryan? Where's he going?
Oh, that was huge! Into a massive backflip over the spine. Reckon I say one of the largest manuals that will be done on this course. So much confidence and first try out there.
Tweets are coming in. The Chelsea boys are cheering on Declan Brooks, loving that big manual, going the distance, but still keeping the rest of his run hot to trot. Can't step through on that air. Look at this, a lot of momentum. Keeping it flowing with that bar spin coming up. Foot jam coming on back. Declan in the spray zone, just trying to put that throttle down.
Getting some speed for the box.
Ooh, one-handed backflip X-up right there. Little ode to Ryan Nyquist. Declan Brooks bringing it in run number 2. Well-deserved high five and hug from Kyle Carlson out there. Look at the height on that backflip. Came in with a lot of speed right there. There is that 360 bar spin, transition to transition. Declan, very impressive showing all season long. There's that backflip one-handed X-up. Again, gave that shout out to Nyquist, one of his signature moves for the last 15 years or so. And Declan looking oh so good. But if you're going to talk about a rider looking oh so good, run number 1 from Drew Bezanson, the Canadian, was absolute fire. Left the course in just charred ruins because it was hot to trot. Drew coming in for run number 2. Let's see if he can keep that torch burning. Up on top of that vert wall, coming in through the curved wall ride into a double tail whip, this time getting the pedals clean.
Looks, oh, and popping that transfer, but that's what I was missing there. Huge toboggan, massive tail whip transfer back into the box jump there.
Yeah, Drew is in the zone when a rider just really clicks, especially Drew at a competition or contest. He just feeds off the energy of the crowd. You can tell he's psyched. He got a lot of his big tricks done in the beginning of his run, and right now Drew is back on top of that big sub wall. Oh, bar spin dropping into the island. Bezanson, tabletop box 360 backwards, landing a little flat.
Not quite getting the perfect rhythm. He has a lot of speed for most of his tricks out here, so getting back after just missing that ice pick stall. See, huge transfer.
With that backflip right there, shaking his head. I don't know if he was looking to go the distance all the way into that quarter pipe going down. Drew also might have been feeling something out. I mean, he rode really good. You know, unofficially, I'm going to say that that was a qualifying run. I mean, that run was, both runs were great. He had a little bit of trouble, but that's what the judges want to see. Obviously, by the fans' reactions, that's what they want to see.
Yes.
So right there, Drew's doing that backflip. That might even be a little preview feeling out for a potentially another transfer, maybe trying to go the distance in tomorrow if he qualifies. Again, unofficially, we're not the judges. Anything can happen, but very good riding from Drew Bezanson.
Colton Walker, next rider up, doing it for his second and final time. Alley-oop, 270, tuck no-hander off that little wedge. Flying over the honor quarter and into the honor box here. 360 double downside whip out of Mr. Walker. Topside whip on that transfer. Pulling out hard and pulling high over that step up. Beautiful flare whip. 360 double bar spin coming up into the small quarter here. Tail whip and back to the hip section. Bar spin, downside tail whip.
Walker right here, this is going to be make or break moments for the run. It's always about keeping that momentum. Whoa, 360 tail whip. It looked like he was actually going to do a 180 just because it's not such a far gap or distance to travel. Just kind of kept that momentum rolling. So Walker right now up, up, and let's see what he's got. Tail whip over the hip. Bar spin coming back, and that is going to be time for Colton Walker. Wow, so Walker right there, run number 2, definitely came out of the gate, a lot of momentum. Then you saw towards the second half of his second run, wound up just kind of focusing on throwing a couple tricks that he was comfortable with. But this 360 double downside tail whip is no easy task. Here's a look at that flare tail whip. And here's that transfer right there. Like I said, it looked like he had that rotation. He went real slow, real confident, and then came around. So right now we're looking at heat number 6. Last but not least, riders warming up on the course. We're going to give the judges a minute to make sense of heat number 5 of where they stand. But if you are just joining us, this is the heat you want to see. We've got Jeremy Mallett, Brandon Lupos, Nick Bruce, and your current points leader coming all the way from Australia. He was your 2015 FISE overall winner, none other than Logan Martin. So if you're just joining us again, this is the heat to be. This is our BMX semi-final here, stop 5 of 5 on our FISE World Series Tour in Chengdu, China. We had 24 of the world's best riders. They had 2 runs apiece out on the course. We are taking overall impression, and 12 of them are going to be moving on to the finals. You can take a look at a little bit of a visual breakdown right there. So Ryan, I gotta ask you this. Since both runs count out here, how much of a different approach is that as far as best run counts? I'm talking about both runs count.
Yeah, that's really difficult because when you look at most contest formats in the bike world, let's take mountain biking for instance, it's a 2-run best run count. That means that the riders have 2 chances basically to do their ideal run, and it's whichever one is more perfect, the judges are going to count. But here, it's that overall impression, which means that you have to showcase your riding ability the whole entire time. You can't have one good run and mess up the second one, or vice versa. You have to be on your game the whole entire time through. But not only that, you have to show diversity. So you can't, if you're, for instance, going up against a guy like Daniel Dhers, who has had a flawless first run, you can't just say, okay, I had a flawless first run, I'm going to do my that same run again. You have to say, okay, I'm going to do something that shows the judges that I have variety that's going to maybe put me above Mr. Dhers. And he has to do the same in that retrospect.
Yeah, so we're talking about that overall impression definitely playing a factor out here. It's also something as far as a rider's approach. You have definitely nerves in a contest, and a lot of times you might wind up getting out there. Maybe you mess up your first run, you get those butterflies out, and you can come back to run number 2. But this is an overall approach. Every run counts out here. But it can work in a rider's favor as well, and especially if you don't wind up riding quote-unquote over your head, you play it a little bit more conservative. You know, that's definitely could play in a rider's favor. So, for example, I'm not going to call Daniel Dhers riding conservative by any means, but you see him doing a lot of tricks that he's very confident and very comfortable in. Yes. A lot of his signatures, like we said, those 720s, off-axis, the off-axis no-handed 720s, his style no-foot can-can tail whips out there, and really just kind of ping-ponging around the course, doing tricks he's very, very comfortable with, as opposed to maybe a couple other riders who we've seen so far going for unique big transfers like Declan Brooks, or maybe even the fact that we saw Jack Clark doing the Daryl Now line of the day. I'm going to call it unofficially yet because we still have 4 riders yet to go, but that curved wall ride into the box jump. So it's a very unique approach, and that consistency has definitely paid off for Daniel because, again, he's gotten 2nd place in Montpellier, 2nd place in Croatia, 2nd place out in Denver, and he didn't have his footing as confident out in Edmonton, but those 3 second-place scores brought him up into, right now, currently sitting in 2nd, only 200 points behind Logan Martin. Now, I want to talk about this points race. This is a battle of the Titans. Who's going to be in first? So Daniel technically already qualified for the finals because he's sitting in 2nd place. So that means that we have 4 riders yet to go. There's no way that he can actually get bumped back beyond 12th place. So he's in the finals. That means the pressure is on. That means the pressure is on for Logan Martin because Logan, if he doesn't qualify for the finals, that means that Dhers will be awarded points and he will become the winner. But Logan's been super consistent this year as well. He's actually won 2 competitions. But right now, we're getting the party rolling in heat number 6.
Jeremy Mallet ready to drop in for the last heat of the day and started super strong with that cork 720.
Great style.
Huge bar spin transfer coming back there and the downside whip on the one side of that spine into the small quarter. Little downside whip as well coming into the sub-box part of that spine. 360 bar spin over and the big high quarter pipe at the top side double tail whip. Indian air over the spine. Whoa, huge flared out 540 or cork 5. I don't know how we call it. Sometimes
tomato, crazy, whatever. So he's ripping out here right now. I think as long as you're making it look good, what Jeremy's doing, that is what's important. But again, Jeremy finished in 4th out in Edmonton. That's why he was granted a spot right here in the semifinal. I was really impressed with his riding. That was one of the first times I've actually seen Jeremy ride in a competition standing, and I definitely think this is a name that we're going to get used to here on the FISE World Series. But right there, smashing a solid first run. Look at that 720, so cool. Even though that was off axis, he actually accentuated how far off axis he went in one direction and then the other. So there you're taking a look at that kind of flat spin cork 540 flare, somewhere in between, but again, it just looks awesome. Talk about another rider that looks awesome out here. Mr. Brandon Lupos has exploded on the scene this year. He is currently sitting in, drumroll please, he's tied for 9th place. So Lupos is coming on in. He definitely impressive riding. He took a first place out in Denver through some crazy backflips and some crazier front flips. Let's see if he brings that same flair and style. Backflip double tail whip. Sweet, smooth invert. Brian, how important do you think this box jump is going to play a role in our riders as opposed to maybe doing some wild transfers out here?
Well, actually, the box jump is the biggest feature on course of the straight jump. So you're going to be able to see some of the largest tricks from all the riders on the box jump. And Lupo's actually deciding to go around it to gain some speed up here. But I'm just trying to note, actually, we had our last heat, our Heat 5 come in with their scores, and we see Colton Walker taking the top honors there. He's sitting in a 3rd position so far. Drew Bezanson, actually, he went from a 1st place qualifier into 10th position. Declan Brooks is sitting in 5th position at the moment. And Eric Razov is right now in 13th position.
So essentially what you are talking about here, well, we're taking a look at Brandon Lupos highlights, backflip double tail whip coming around. And here's a look at that 450 bar spin jumping up. But the real things to note that you're talking about with all the scores, we are taking top 12 moving on to finals. So that means 9th through 12th, where they are in the nail-biting position. It's Kevin Peraza, Drew Bezanson, Kostya Andreev, and Eric Figar. So what that means, if our heat number 6 4 riders all beat the score, which is a 77.33 held on by Kevin Peraza, those 4 riders will bump out, and our 4 riders who are currently riding will move in. So if you're in 8th and above, you are sitting pretty. But right now, Nick Bruce coming in. Transfer his lines for some speed. Bruce is a brawler. He's from Youngstown, Ohio. He's had a big year and been finishing really big here at FISE, where he's currently sitting in 3rd place in points coming into our final. Bruce blasting down, blasting up with that no-hander on the step up. Wall ride transfer over the island, coming into the box with the 360 tail whip at a lot of height, looking for that tuck no-hander. Even though he didn't get the expansion of his wings, still looking beautiful out there, especially on that 360 tabletop. Bruce putting his hand on that honor wall ride. Bar spin. Transfer in. Whoa, a lot of height, got off axis, almost lost it, but kept it together on that flare tail whip.
I don't know if that was just the camera angle we had, but that looked like he was almost completely out of it and held together so well.
The wild style of Nick Bruce. Let's see if he puts a big dynamite at the end of his run. Backflip, tail whip.
Dynamite is right. That is going to do it for Bruce's first attempt. And a full pole, I might add.
The big boy, Nick Bruce right here. Big run. 360 tail whip, looking for that no-hander. Got the position, but not the limbs fully off. Here's a look at that tail whip flare. Yeah, you see his weight actually almost got completely sideways off the bike, but wound up pulling it back together. So we are looking at the man, the myth, the current points leader, your 2015 champion, coming all the way from Australia, and the one rider with a lot of pressure put on top of him. This is none other than Logan Martin.
Logan Martin, he's going to be doing it out here all the way from Brisbane, Australia. Flare bar spin.
So Logan right now has the pressure on him. He's got to qualify. Daniel Dhers has already qualified. There's a points race for these top 2 riders. Logan backflip over the spine, bar spin over the hip. Yeah, 360 double tail whip.
Mr. Martin doing justice out here on the course, showing us why he is sitting currently in first position. He has those wins under the FISE belt here previously.
So Logan right here getting a very solid start, run number 1. Again, the pressure is on. All he has to do is finish 12 or higher. The score to beat currently held by Kevin Peraza is a 77.33. And Logan right there had a very good run. So it's going to be interesting to see, how does Logan play it? Does he really dig deep and go for a first place qualification? Where we've seen in the past at Montpellier in particular, if there's a weather delay or something happens tomorrow, whether it's rain, wind, monsoon, right? You know, never out here in China, right? Something can happen, right? Like that. So if that happens out here, then you will go with our qualifying score, our semifinal score. So you want to make sure you give it your all and that you can get up in there. But right now, looking for run number 2, the USA rider, Mr. Jeremy Mallet.
He's dropping in here, had a nice clean run as well for run 1. And see if he can step it up. All these last 4 riders have so much game. Starting off strong there with 360 double tail whip. Big transfer back with a bar spin and utilizing that spine as a quarter pipe, making sure he gets that tail whip. 540 on the small quarter up top.
Ooh, 360 bar spin, looking for that landing, almost going flat, but you saw he slowed down his rotation to wind up grabbing a little bit of that transition in there. Yes, decade around that top tube. Jeremy right here, Jam Master J, bar spin coming back at us, 360 tail whip. Tail tapping on the quarter pipe. Just squelching across that transfer right there. Looks like Jeremy, what's he got? Oh, whoa, big backflip. Very unexpected right there. A lot of riders you see, especially Ken Atencio, they ride basically next to the coping, but he came straight on right there. It's almost a backflip. It would be similar if you were on street and you just did a backflip off a loading dock right there. Big ups, Jeremy. So here's a look at that 360 double tail whip around. 1, 2. Here's a 540. He's got that little bit flat spin style. Decade around the top tube. Bonus points for it being on that hip. And here is the backflip coming on in. Very much a unique spin that he gave it to it by going straight as opposed to riding parallel to the coping. So Brandon Lupos right here. Again, first place out in Denver. Let's see if he can keep that streak rolling. Out in Denver, he threw some wild styles, some crazy backflips, some crazy front flips. He had a good run number 1, but we know that Lupos has got some big, big tricks. He rides for the Nitro Circus. And any rider that goes for Nitro Circus, cash roll, perfectly done. Wow. The cash roll, first invented by Daniel Dhers, and then perfected by Brett Benisewicz, who's here at our competition, actually rode in qualifying. I love seeing Brett Benisewicz out here. He's actually cheering on all of our riders right now in the semi. But Lupos, that's what we're talking about, turning it up. Big, big cash roll. Lupos looking for a big, big score. Yes. Tail whip. Yes, Lupos out here. Flare. All right, Lupos. That was a great run for Lupos. Definitely that cash roll was the highlight, it was the climax of his run, but kept it rolling solid. I mean, look at that wild style trick coming around. Actually doesn't ride with his finger on his brake lever as well. A rider might do that where if they're gonna loop out and go off the back of your bike, you can pull the brake and kind of regain your composure and drop the front end down, but not needed at all for Lupos, showing you how dialed and in control he was. So right now we got 2 riders left to go, 2 big boys. The boy from Youngstown, Ohio, Nick Bruce. You can follow Nick Bruce on his own YouTube channel. Just type Nick Bruce into that search bar and you can follow his adventures. He's going to be doing some behind-the-scenes footage at every one of his contests and training that he goes to. Very cool to get a behind-the-scenes, up-close and personal look, not only with any BMX rider, but one of the best in the world. Very cool. Bruce, backflip tail whip coming out of that wall ride right there, taking a similar approach to Jack Clark.
Going for that bar spin up on the quarter pipe and into the spine here, onto the step up, getting tons of speed, jumping over the little nipple there on the wall and back into the honor box jump, 360 tail up and getting a snap on that tuck no-hander this time around. Bar spin and then into a 360 or a decade, yeah, 360 down whip, I guess. And hand plant up top there, coming into the hip section.
Yeah, as far as the downside 360, or a decade, either way, half empty, half full. The one thing that's consistent, it looks awesome either way. So Nick Bruce, flip over the hip, bar spin coming in. Again, big run for Bruce. Let's see if he can keep that momentum steamrolling. Coming into the box jump, he's got big tricks. Yeah!
Big cork 720. And that's gonna do it for Nick Bruce, finishing it off his second run at the semis here in Chengdu.
That's a good feeling. I mean, you came all the way halfway around the world. I know that this contest means a lot to Nick Bruce. It does to every single rider out there. But if you follow his YouTube channel, you know that this competition in particular has been a big focus of Nick's. And to smash a second run, very solid, wrapping it up with that 360 backflip, kind of off-axis 720. Very cool for Nick Bruce. But right now, it is all about our last rider, the man with the pressure on his shoulders, your current points leader, the man who is battling it out, 1 and 2 for Daniel Dhers. The pressure is on. Let's see if he can deliver. This is the Australian Logan Martin.
360 double bar spin out of the gate. Martin has a almost mixing up the handlebars there on that flare bar spin. But Martin has a ton of tricks going super slow, 270 tail whip rotation back into the box jump here with the perfect backflip tail whip.
Wow, hot hands. You saw he almost slipped the grip. If a rider does that and does not get his hands back on, it could usually mean a definitely going down to the side. But right now, Logan is back on it. That 360 over the spine was extremely high. And then that downside tail whip right there. Logan is just charging around the course, doing a Ruben-esque wall ride. Shout out to Ruben Alcantara, who is definitely following along. There you go, 360 double bar spin coming up. The crowd is cheering on Logan because they know this is a very important qualifier for him. He was your current winner in 2015. I believe that was a triple.
That was a triple tail whip with hardly any amplitude, and he knows it does justice. Logan Martin, that is going to be your last competitor in this semifinals, and that's definitely going to do it for all the riders out here in Chengdu. Let's take a couple looks at Logan's top run here.
That 360 double bar spin. Here is a look at a downside tail whip over the hip. Here is that backflip transfer. And Logan, 1, 2, 3 times around. Triple whip at the end. Big run for Logan. So, again, as we mentioned, this is a points race. This was stop 5 of 5, 24 riders. We are about to see which top 12 make it into the finals. As we mentioned, Daniel Dhers already qualified. We are taking top 12. Logan threw down 2 solid runs. We're going to see if that is enough to get him in as well. We're taking a look at our 3 judges who have to not only figure out the last 4 riders' scores, but they have to basically see where do they fit within the other 20 riders that were out on the course. You're taking a look at Bibi, Igor, and Hank out there, who respectively have one of the most difficult jobs to make sense of all the tricks that we just witnessed on the Chengdu battlefield. Wow.
So they're going to be taking their time to make sure that everyone gets into their respective positions. Do not want to have any overlapping. But if you, again, are checking us out on social media, if you're on your phone or you're on our devices, make sure you grab us on Facebook. Get us on the official Facebook page. That's FISE.official. Make sure you like us there and keep up to date with all the action. You can get some amazing content there from our YouTube channel and the others at Bay. Instagram and Twitter, our handle is at FISEWorld. As well, Snapchat, FISE World Series. And if you want to check out any more media content, make sure you check out FISE.tv for all the updated advancements. as well as for myself, Ryan Meyer, and Daryl Now. You can find us on Instagram or Twitter. I believe your handle is @DarylNow, as well as mine is @Ryan Meyer. You probably have more BMX content or sports content than I do. Mine is kind of just like photography realms of weird stuff.
Well, I think that's the cool part about social media. You kind of get to see what different riders are into, and I definitely enjoy. You haven't as well, but to do it in your runs, that is definitely a highlight here at FISE. There is Mr. Camacho, pink sheets and all, coming around. There's a 270 drop-in double booming backflip over the box jump.
So 2 huge double flips in this semifinals.
Look at that flare toe up, Jake Leva.
Alex Coleborn, who is, well, before this round, currently sitting with the top honors, that 91.66.
Right there, Daniel Dhers, double tail up coming around. Daniel was awarded the 86.66. We're going to see how he stands. I love that transfer. Declan Brooks just floating through the eye, fueled by Cliff Burton. There's a look at Declan coming up. I love the fact that he wound up transferring down from that same approach. There is Drew Bezanson. So many highlights out here, Ryan. This is wild, man. This is BMX competition in its finest hour out here. We've got all different styles and also riders represented all over the globe. There's that backflip coming in. Here is that cash roll by Brandon Lupos. Nick Bruce just throwing down a big backflip with that tail whip. I mean, this entire competition was a highlight reel here. I know we were just cherry picking some. Every ramp, especially from Drew Bezanson, just throwing that kerosene down. So we're going to see where our riders sit and which top 12 are going to be moving on.
I believe the scores are rolling in from some of our judges. As you see, we are very low for time right now. Here it is. Alex Coleborn is going to be the man of the hour, our top qualifier, and he's going to be the last man to drop tomorrow in the finals with that 91.66. Logan Martin in second place with an 89.33. Daniel Dhers in third place, Brandon Lupos fourth, Colton Walker, Jeremy Mallet, Kenneth Tencio, and Nick Bruce rounding off the top 8. For the remainder here,
Declan Brooks, respectable 9th, Mike Varga, Jack Clark, and on the bubble, my Garden of Life teammate squelching in there, coming from the US of A, Josh Perry. But we want to give big ups to Kevin Peraza, Drew Bezanson, Andrei Kostryev, Eric Figar, Eric Razaev, Vince Byron, Tom Eisted, Alex Nicolin, Jonathan Camacho, and our rest of our riders rounding out the heat.
unfortunate for some of the boys there, like Drew and like Mr. Peraza with a bit of a lone face, weren't able to make it in. But that's how it goes. This is Freestyle BMX. This was the UCI BMX World Freestyle Park Championship here, and this is going into the finals for tomorrow. On behalf of myself, Ryan Meyer, and Daryl Nell, thank you very much from around the world for joining in to watch us here at FISE Chengdu. Check us out next time.